Discover the touching moment when his deaf twins dance with the maid revealed an unexpected love. Jake sat on the worn stool in his workshop, the aroma of motor oil and grease enveloping him like a comforting blanket. Yet the weight on his shoulders felt heavier than the tools that hung from the wall. Raising Lily and Max, his bright but deaf twins, since Emily's passing felt like fixing a shattered engine, every day a battle against rust and wear. As the calendar's pages flipped, it brought the annual talent show closer, a reminder of how little time he had left to prepare. Unlike most parents, Jake faced an impossible dilemma. He couldn't simply ignore this had become the first major event since he lost his wife. "Dad! Dance! Dance with us!" Max's wide smile, contagious even in silence, pulled him from the depths of his thoughts. Jake hesitated, the pieces of his past dancing before him, a swirling reminder of a joy he feared he could never recreate. It had always been Emily who understood the twins' spirit, who would make them move fluidly to the beat of life. Jake was left with nothing but the echo of laughter that filled their home, now turned hollow with absence that he felt a desperate pang in his chest. Money was tight, the mechanic shop barely kept the lights on, and he worked nights, trying to scrape together enough for rent and groceries without realizing he had become a ghost of his former self. Yet the thought of them performing, of the twins reveling in their moment, ignited a sliver of hope. In a weakness, he called Maria, their cleaning lady, an upbeat woman with dreams of her own. Upon learning of the talent show's approaching deadline, Jake felt an unexpected flutter of conflict beneath his skin. Hiring her to help with choreography felt pragmatic, but beneath that decision brewed uncertainty. With each rehearsal, as Lily and Max began to embrace the rhythm under Maria's bright demeanor, Jake saw something warm flicker within him too. But could he afford this budding connection when he had poured so much into his heartache? Would he risk it all to open up to her laughter and light, splitting his attention away from the twins? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the days marched ahead, tension brewed within. The night before the performance, rehearsals devolved into frustration as protective instincts careened into an unexpected explosion that left Maria at the door, her eyes shimmering with hurt. Jake's heart pounded against his ribs as he grappled with the sting of regret. How could he have said those words? In a moment where love felt equally important for him and the twins, he fumbled and dismissed her emotions. Now both Maria and the twins hovered somewhere between joy and uncertainty, a constant emotional pull tugging at Jake's heart. The stakes amplified as he saw the raw excitement in his children's eyes, knowing they longed to shine. Yet how could he lead them forward while grappling with this untouched fear of letting love in? As he lay awake on a thin mattress, he could almost feel Emily's soft whisper, urging him to embrace life again. With the burden of loving filling his mind, he turned to the darkness, questions flooding through. But in that uncertainty, could he step forward, or would he remain enveloped in the shadows of past grief? The weight of possibilities left him breathless as dawn broke achingly on the horizon of performance day. The moment neared a fragile chance at love, family, and anew. The morning light spilled through the workshop's dirty windows, illuminating the dust motes swirling like the thoughts in Jake's mind. With his stomach tied in knots, he paced the floor, his eyes darting to the aging clock on the wall. The hours slid by too slowly, each tick a reminder of how quickly time slipped from his grasp. This had to be the day he broke free, he decided. If he wanted to show the twins that love could resurface in unexpected ways, it had to start with him. He clenched his fists, digging his nails into the palms of his hands for focus. Was it too risky to embrace this challenge? The decision licked at him like flames, both invigorating and terrifying. His phone buzzed on the workbench, drawing his attention. It was a message from Maria, a simple reminder about the performance and a wish for luck. Her words, warm and encouraging, felt like a gentle nudge toward the intimacy he had tried to shut out. Jake's heart raced as he typed out a response, his fingers hesitating over the screen. He wanted to invite her. Needed to show her that he cared enough to confront the fallout of their earlier fight. But would this gesture invite the same hope he tried to teach the twins, or would it draw him further into the labyrinth of his fears? Max and Lily's laughter broke through his thoughts, a melodic blend that reminded him of Emily. They were in the living room, practicing their dance routines in front of a makeshift mirror. He couldn't fault them for finding joy amidst their father's turmoil. They, too, were navigating a world bereft of certainty, yet here they were dancing like butterflies in full bloom. Taking a deep breath, he stepped into the room, taking in the sight of his children spinning and laughing. A pang of pride swelled in his heart, rapidly strangled by the coiling tendrils of doubt. It wasn't just about the performance anymore, it was about building confidence in them, showing them that life despite its heartbreaks could hold beauty. "Hey, you two," he began, his voice steady, "can I show you something?" Their eyes lit up with anticipation. He gestured for them to join him, and their small feet scampered toward him, their expressions curious. In that moment, as he knelt to their level, the corner of his mouth lifted into a hesitant smile. "Let us practice together." He raised his arms, embodying the rhythm he had feared embracing. The room filled with laughter as they joined him, their movements erratic yet joyful, uninhibited by the concerns that swirled around their father. As practice wore on, Jake felt a shift within himself. Each time he glanced at the twins, he saw the spark of potential in their eyes, and it reminded him of the light he had dimmed within his own heart. He dared to imagine a next step not only for the performance but for his own growth. Could he allow himself to choose joy, to accept love, however complicated? After the dance ended, he wiped the sweat from his brow and faced the twins. "I want to ask Maria to join us. What do you think?" Their enthusiastic cheers melted away the last remnants of his hesitation. As he made the call, a surge of determination washed over him, providing a flicker of hope that, just maybe, he could balance the demands of fatherhood with the possibility of a new connection. But deep down, Jake realized a looming question remained: would this new path fill the void left by Emily, or would it cause him untold pain? Now, as Jake prepared to invite her back into their lives, deep-rooted fears churned within him. The day was still young, but hard choices lay ahead. And the specter of confrontation loomed. His heart thudded at the thought of joining together again, but filled with uncertainty. In this quiet moment of resolve, Jake contemplated stepping toward the light or retreating into the shadows once more. It was time to choose: embrace the bouncing laughter of a new chapter or drown in unresolved grief. The choice was his, and the clock was ticking. Jake's heart thudded against his ribcage as he held the phone to his ear, Maria's voice reverberating through the line. Her laughter, a comforting melody, filled the empty spaces in his mind. Yet, beneath that warmth, an icy tendril of doubt coiled tightly around his thoughts. Would she understand the fragile nature of his emotions? Would they be exactly what he needed, or an unwelcome reminder of past pain? "Sure, I'd love to join," Maria replied, her tone exuberant. The flutter in Jake's chest surged again, igniting both fear and excitement. After hanging up, he took a moment to gather himself, leaning against the workbench as he breathed deeply, letting air fill his lungs slowly before expelling lingering insecurities. This was a step forward, into the embrace of possibility. Yet, with every thought of Maria, images of Emily would flash unbidden in his mind, the two women colliding within him, making it difficult to separate the past from the present. "Breathe, Jake," he whispered to himself, the mantra a necessity in silencing his racing thoughts. In the living room, Max and Lily were bent over their dance sketches, markers scribbling across parchment. Their small faces lit up with delighted concentration, revealing an undeniable passion for creativity. And in that moment, Jake realized, this was what it truly meant to move forward. The twins, unaware of his inner conflicts, were simply living their joy. "Have you thought about the dance routine for tonight?" he asked, bending down to their level. "Yeah. Can we add a spin? And maybe a jump?" Max exclaimed, hazel eyes sparkling with inspiration. Lily nodded emphatically, her golden curls bouncing exuberantly. And we should dance together, like a team. Absolutely, Jake encouraged them, a slow smile breaking free as he watched his children dream big. What would it take for him to embrace that same spirit? Could he harness that youthful enthusiasm, channeling their belief into his adult reality? The twins' excitement stirred something deep within Jake, a challenge wrapped in the laughter of children. He felt inspired. Maybe all of them could reclaim their happiness. But then, doubts crept back in, testing his resolve. Was he just a fool for thinking he could rebuild his world from shattered pieces? The workshop around him felt stifling, each wood panel a testament to his past, a past where shadows loomed larger than light. I'm going to the store, I'll be back soon, he called as he slipped outside. The afternoon sky was painted in hues of blue and gold, a relic of the time slipping through his fingers. As he walked down the familiar path, memories threatened to rise. Jake! The voice called out before he could reach the corner. It was Marcus, the neighbor, his laugh unmistakable, bellowing, assuring, all the things Jake felt he had lost. You're still alive, huh? I haven't seen you in ages, Marcus teased, approached light-hearted, but Jake felt an unease build between them. I've been busy, Jake replied, forcing a smile, wondering if Marcus sensed the raw discomfort beneath his facade. The dance tonight bringing the twins? Maria? There was a probing glint in his eyes. Jake nodded, uncertain whether to feel pride or shame. Yeah, we're all going. Just trying to have some fun, trying to move on. Move on, huh? Just remember, it's okay to let yourself feel again, Marcus said, his sincerity disarming. As Marcus walked away, Jake was left lingering in the intersection of affirmation and fear. At what cost was he trying to heal? The old wounds felt fresh, almost as if uncertainty had wound fresh roots around him, refusing to loosen. Each step toward the store felt heavier, doubt clung to him like a second skin. Taking a deep breath, he realized this wasn't just about the dance or the twins' happiness. This was about confronting his own scars head-on, unraveling the emotions he'd hidden for too long, and as he turned the corner, his gaze caught sight of familiar silhouettes through the window. Maria had arrived early. Would this moment bring warmth or further turmoil? Jake's heart buzzed in uncertainty, caught between pain and possibility. The choice lay before him yet again. Could he confront the ache buried deep and allow new love to flourish? The door swung open, and Jake crossed the threshold into a life yet to be defined. Jake paused at the door, the familiar scent of vanilla and lavender wafting through the air, a reflection of Maria and her vibrant energy permeating the space. His heart raced as he stepped inside, uncertainty mixing with anticipation in a potent cocktail of emotions. Maria glanced over, her smile brightened by the sunlight streaming in through the window. She shifted her weight from one foot to the other, exuding a relaxed confidence that enveloped Jake. Hey, you made it just in time. The twins are already practicing their routine. Jake watched the twins spin and leap, blissfully unaware of the conflict waging war in his heart. Their laughter echoed, a reminder of the dreams and hopes they had yet to articulate. Maria stepped forward, her eyes filled with encouragement. I think they'd love for you to join them, she suggested, her voice laced with warmth. For a moment, Jake felt an impulse to retreat, to let this exhilarating moment dissolve back into confusion. But he couldn't ignore the electrifying potential that flowed through him. Maybe just this once, he replied, inching closer, drawn by their contagious enthusiasm. As Jake joined in, he found himself struggling to match the twins' rhythm, stumbling over his own feet while they danced with perfect harmony. Yet, with each bounce and twirl, something within him began to shift. The doubt that had clung to him like a film started to evaporate, replaced by the raw joy emanating from his children. They believed in him, they believed in possibilities. Dad, look! Like this! Max shouted, demonstrating a move with a concentration that belied his age. Jake watched, filled with admiration, and mimicked the awkward but earnest attempt. They giggled, encouraging him with beckoning hands. In the periphery, Maria's gaze remained fixed on him, as if she could see the walls he struggled to break through collapsing with each step. There was courage in vulnerability, he realized, and with each shared laugh, he released pieces of his guarded heart. As the minutes turned into a playful exchange, camaraderie blossomed. Jake felt the weight of fear diminish, and in its place grew a budding curiosity about the connection he could explore with Maria, a connection so ready to flourish but so easily shadowed by hesitation. Suddenly, he faltered, an echo of Emily passing through his mind, reminding him of the love he had lost and the pain that still lingered. Would he be betraying her memory by allowing himself to lean into this new potential? The thought scraped against his consciousness like a stone, making him question his worthiness of happiness. Jake. Maria's voice cut through, reading his internal struggle. It's okay to miss her. Just because we move forward doesn't mean we forget. Her honesty was refreshing, stirring an admission inside him that had long been buried. Yeah, I know, he responded, his own voice barely above a whisper. But how do I open myself up without losing the past? Maria stepped closer, their closeness amplifying the charge between them. You honor the past by living for the present. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Her understanding ignited a recognition within him, a sense that healing meant more than strength, it required vulnerability and honesty. Perhaps moving forward wasn't about severing ties but instead weaving new threads into the fabric of his life alongside old. With the twins jumping around them, the laughter continued, igniting in him a burgeoning hope. Could he truly bridge the chasm between the past and the present? A flicker of resolve formed in Jake's mind, planting a seed of determination that perhaps the future, while uncertain, held promise. The rhythm of the dance changed, and for the first time that day, Jake moved with a confidence that surprised even him. Yet, just as the moment enveloped them in its bubble of joy, the doorbell chimed sharply, slicing through the warmth. Jake halted, his heart dropping. Who could it be now? As the screen door creaked open, the unsettling feeling of new challenges loomed ahead. Was he ready to face whatever awaited him, or would it shatter the fragile forward momentum he had just begun to embrace? Jake's heart raced, unfurling sharp anxiety in his chest as he turned toward the door, where a silhouette loomed dark against the bright sunlight. The jiggle of the knob felt imperious, taunting even. Maria glanced at him, concern flitting across her features. Are you okay? She asked, her voice soft, tracing a warm path across his psyche. He didn't have an answer, fixated on the door, where the visitor sparked disquiet that threatened to swallow the burgeoning connection he felt. The twins, momentarily halted in their animated dance, looked over with curious eyes, sensing the impending shift in the atmosphere. Fear prickled at Jake's skin. What if the visitor was someone from the past, a reminder of the life he had lost? Or worse, what if they brought trouble, disrupting the fragile joy that had just begun to mend his fractured spirit? The door cracked open wider, revealing a fatherly figure Jake recognized instantly. Jack, a childhood friend he hadn't seen in years. A mix of surprise and trepidation etched lines across Jake's forehead as Jack stepped inside, uninvited yet brusquely confident. Jake. Jack's voice boomed, overbearing yet familiar, a wave crashing against Jake's freshly planted resolve. Long time no see, man. Jake's world righted for a moment, caught in the nostalgia of a past that had once felt secure yet ultimately dissolved into memories. Hey, Jack, he managed, forced into a polite smile that barely reached his eyes. Jack's gaze swept across the room, landing on the twins. Wow, you've got a whole little crew now, he observed, ruffling their hair, a gesture that sparked a brief, feigned cheerfulness within Jake but felt largely misplaced. Yeah, Jake replied, unable to match Jack's evident enthusiasm. The dread of disorientation began to seep back in as Jake felt the ground shift beneath his feet. What brings you here? As Jack launched into a story about his new venture, the sound became a dull thrum in the background. Hum of ambitions and aspirations merged with the palpable warmth of the room, yet Jake felt the cold breach of doubt clawing at his thoughts. The world he had begun to rebuild with Maria felt fragile, shaking under the weight of unexpected encounters. The twins resumed their playful interactions, trying to engage Jack, blissful in their innocence, blissfully unaware of the tension crisscrossing between the adults. Yet Jake's mind spun. Here was a former ally in a conquered landscape, someone who might inadvertently catalyze old wounds or amplify his loneliness. Could a life shared with Jack invoke unwelcome memories? Then, amidst the banter, Maria stepped forward, her nurturing presence providing a counterbalance to Jake's growing apprehensions. "So, Jack, what's this new venture of yours?" she inquired, clearly eager to learn. Watching her with the twins gave rise to an intoxicating mix of gratitude and yearning within him, fueling the embers of the connection that hadn't completely faded. But still, the looming specter of regret murmured ominously in the background, whispering that inviting Jack into his life again could complicate the delicate progress he had made. The conversation flowed, but Jake felt himself retreat into his thoughts, questioning whether he could truly embrace this new chapter. Was it optimistic or naive to think he could balance Jack's arrival against the blossoming relationship with Maria? As he reflected, Maria's eyes caught his again, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. It ignited a flicker of bravery, but the question lingered: could he navigate the unwelcome visitor while nurturing the fragile yet energizing bond he was forming with her? Here was an opportunity to confront not just Jack but the shadows of his own past, a chance to redefine the path forward. Maybe it was time for Jake to articulate his boundaries, to prioritize what he truly wanted, yet, uncertainty gnawed at him. How would he confront this duality, honoring the past while striving for growth? Just as the air hung thick with anticipation and unspoken words, Jack turned the conversation towards something else entirely, shifting the moment. "We should do a reunion," he suggested, unaware of the turmoil swirling in Jake's mind. The challenge loomed large. Would Jake dare to bridge the gap between old friendships and new beginnings? And could he muster the courage to voice a different vision for his life? Jake realized he stood on the precipice of confrontation, a dichotomy he had to face head-on. The time had come to find his voice, to demand the equilibrium of his heart, but would he seize the moment, or allow hesitation to steal away his growing resolve? The room hummed with laughter, a force that felt both welcoming and constricting to Jake. The enthusiastic chatter of Jack interspersed with the light-hearted giggles of the twins formed a surreal backdrop. Yet, all he could summon was a fragmented sense of belonging as he watched Jack effortlessly slip back into the narrative of their shared history. Jack's boisterous ambitions were reflected in the radiant smiles of the twins, who didn't grasp the complexities swirling around their adult counterparts. Maria's soft, encouraging tones directed towards Jack seemed to tether Jake amidst the chaos. But her gaze met his every now and then, holding a depth of understanding that both comforted and unsettled him. Jake felt the growing pressure of indecision waging war in his mind. Should he confront the ghosts of his past, or would acknowledging them pull apart the delicate threads of his present? Each chuckle from Jack reverberated like a distant drumbeat, resonating with both nostalgia and trepidation. When Jack suggested the reunion, Jake's heart sank. The very thought of revisiting old haunts and acquaintances invoked a stirring anxiety. Could he withstand the weight of those memories? More importantly, could he bear to expose Maria and the twins to that part of his life? As Jack animatedly shared stories from the past, Jake felt almost like an observer, as if he were watching himself from outside. He wasn't just absorbing Jack's words, he was weighing them against everything he fought for: the quiet moments with Maria, the warmth of the twins' laughter, and the burgeoning hope for a new life. "How about you, Jake?" Jack's sudden query pierced through his ruminations. "What are you up to these days? Starting any ventures of your own?" The question struck deep, forcing Jake into the spotlight. The urge to evade it washed over him, but something else began to spark a blossoming resolve. He took a breath, feeling the veils of his fragility starting to lift. "I'm focusing on my family," Jake replied, his voice gaining strength. "Maria and the twins, they're everything to me now." Jack's expression shifted, surprise flickering across his face, quickly replaced by a hint of admiration. "That's good, man. Family is important. But don't forget the passions that drove you before." The undertone of judgment dripped from Jack's words, as if questioning Jake's worthiness outside his new role. A tension arose as Jake squared his shoulders. Hadn't he already dedicated more than enough time to his previous life's ambitions, only to watch them crumble? Wasn't this new family the passion he needed now? Reclaiming his voice felt like a small yet monumental victory. He was reclaiming a fragment of his identity. Yeah, but things change, don't they? He countered, his tone firm. Some dreams need to be set aside so others can grow. An awkward silence fell, and Jake sensed the weight of the unspoken challenge. Jack's claim to their past tethered Jake dangerously to nostalgia, yet it also offered a chance to carve out boundaries that were previously blurred. Maria stepped in, her warm presence diffusing the charged air. Jake's right, Jack. Some new beginnings mean letting go of the old. We've got our hands full creating something special here. Her voice was calm yet resolute, and Jake felt a flicker of pride for her. With the shift in the conversation, a different kind of tension pulsed, one that demanded Jake's self-definition amidst familiarity, urging him to navigate these waters with both caution and courage. Would he find the strength to draw lines, or would his past demand compliance? That afternoon evolved into barely articulated thoughts, with Jack's stories often lost to Jake's spiraling reflections. As hours passed, fatigue crept in, but Jake's mind raced with threads of potential confrontation. He expected this encounter to yield only nostalgia, yet it was revealing, pushing him to rediscover who he was. Just as laughter echoed again, the twins engaged in their innocent mischief, Jake felt an undeniable shift in his confidence. A decision loomed. Larger than any hesitation, it was a chance for him to blend the past with the present strategically. Instead of clearing out his emotions, he could fuse them to create an empowered narrative embracing his identity. But as Jack continued to encroach upon this new territory of Jake's life, the real question lingered: would he unearth the courage to fully articulate who he wanted to be in this new chapter? The day ended with hopeful uncertainty, but as evening shadows fell, Jake sensed the ground was beginning to solidify beneath him, albeit precariously. Desires simmered beneath the surface, and Jake yearned to take the next step towards true self-definition. As he gazed into Maria's eyes, he understood an impending instigation awaited him. The true challenge wasn't just about confronting Jack. The moment was drawing near when he would confront himself, who he had become and who he aspired to be. Would he embrace that journey or settle for something less? The journey beckoned, and with it, the stark realization loomed: the moment to claim his voice was just on the horizon. Jake sat on the edge of the porch, the twilight casting long shadows across the yard. The laughter of the twins drifted around the corner, their joy infectious yet distant from the storm brewing inside him. Here, in this moment of tranquility, the convergence of past and present felt so sharp that he could almost touch it. It was within him, coiling tighter with each passing second. The evening air beckoned him to breathe deeply, but even the crisp gust could not dispel the tension that Jack's remarks had ignited. Don't forget the passions that drove you before. How could he forget when they haunted him like specters demanding attention? He had long surrendered those passions, burying them beneath layers of family and responsibility. But were they truly gone, or merely dormant, waiting for a spark to ignite them again? Maria's approach pulled him from his reverie. She settled next to him, the warmth of her presence grounding him amidst inner chaos. "You all right?" she asked, eyes searching his for something he wasn't sure he could articulate. "Just thinking," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "About the future, and what it means for us, really." The words tumbled out unrefined and awkward, but they were necessary. Each syllable carried weight, shifting the atmosphere between them. Maria leaned in closer, her genuine interest a lifeline. "You know you can talk to me about anything. Whatever's going on inside your head. It's Jack, really. His expectations. They remind me of who I used to be. It's like trying to reconcile the past with who I am now. What if I'm not the person everyone thinks I am anymore?" Jake's hands gripped the edge of the porch, knuckles widening against the splintered wood. The truth often felt too abrasive to utter. "Jake, you've changed because you've chosen to. There's power in that," she replied earnestly. "Embrace it. Don't let his perceptions challenge your choices. You don't owe anyone an apology." Her words lit a path through the fog, providing a clarity he hadn't realized he desperately needed. Yet doubt rattled at the edges of his resolve. Could he step back into the life he once held so dear, one that took so much from him? "I want to be a better father, a better husband," he confessed, his gaze locked onto hers. "But is there a way to pursue that and still acknowledge my own dreams? Can I have both? Why not?" Maria's voice was confident, unwavering. "The world doesn't have to be an either-or situation. You can create a new narrative that pulls from the best parts of your past while being fully present with us." Hope began to blossom tentatively in the depth of his chest. Was it possible? The idea felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Could he merge the old ambitions with the new life he had fought so hard to build? The twins' laughter rippled through the air again, reminding him of what was at stake. Their innocence, their dreams, intertwined with his own heart, igniting a determination he hadn't felt in years. Maybe the pursuit of his passions didn't have to mean sacrificing his family, perhaps it was about ensuring they threaded through every endeavor he undertook, yet a lingering apprehension taunted him, echoing the unspoken parts of his inner dialogue. What if he failed them all over again? What if his ambitions pulled him away rather than bringing him closer? As he processed these thoughts, conviction swelled, revealing the path ahead wasn't solely about confrontation but about creation. He could define success differently, integrating pieces of his past into this newfound journey. A new passion could sprout, grounded in love and fortified by his commitment to family. With determination flooding through him, Jake resolved to begin crafting that narrative. He wasn't just going to step into the shadows of his past but illuminate the path forward, harnessing who he had been to fuel who he could become. "Let us think about some projects together," he said finally, the words tinged with excitement, feeling both scary and liberating. Maria's eyes sparkled. "Now that sounds like a great idea. Let's explore those dreams together." The air was electric with potential, but just as hope soared, time whispered a reminder. The reunion was approaching an intersection that demanded confrontation, and he could already feel the lurking tension of Jack's expectations. In that pivotal moment, Jake knew a deeper challenge awaited him, the balancing act of navigating his past without being consumed by it. Embracing a new identity meant finding acceptance in uncertainty, an acknowledgement of growth, and wrestling with the perennial question, will you dare to redefine success on your own terms? As excitement jostled with apprehension, he sensed the dawn of a transformative journey. But just ahead loomed the reunion, an impending confrontation that might cast shadows on his new resolve. Would he stand tall, grounding himself in the choices he had made, or would he waver in the face of judgment? The time had come to face not just Jack but the ghosts of his own past, and Jake knew deep down that the moment of truth was racing towards him. Jake rose from the porch, the weight of the decision leaning heavy on his shoulders as the laughter of the twins faded into the background, muffled by the intensifying storm of thoughts swirling within him. The dusk felt thick with possibilities, vibrant and daunting. The reassuring presence of Maria anchored him, merging their shared hopes into a singular purpose. His mind raced as he paced the porch, contemplating the projects he and Maria had discussed. What would they pursue? Now, more than ever, he felt the urgency to reconnect with his older self, the one that once chased dreams with reckless abandon. Would it be too ambitious to create something meaningful alongside his family? As he moved toward the edge of the yard, each step and creak of the wooden boards beneath him echoed his internal conflict. The idea, though exciting, teetered on the brink of fear. The specter of Jack loomed larger with every thought, threatening to overshadow the motivation he felt bubbling inside. He had once thrived amidst chaotic creativity, building art installations, crafting compelling stories that intertwined life experiences with vivid imagination. Yet years spent in the pursuit of stability had dulled those edges, leaving him feeling fragmented. Striking a balance between familial responsibility and individual fulfillment felt akin to walking a tightrope. Suddenly, the twins squealed as they chased fireflies across the lawn, their carefree spirits illuminating the shadowy corners of his mind. They were a reminder of joy, a reflection of the love he yearned to cultivate and nourish. Maybe this was the spark he needed. Instead of distancing himself from his family pursuits, he could draw them into the fold of his creative endeavors. "Maria!" he called, excitement creeping into his voice. She turned towards him, inquisitively raising an eyebrow. "What if we involve the twins in our projects? We could integrate art and play, create a space for them to express themselves." Maria's face lit up, and he could see the wheels turning in her mind. "That could be amazing. Imagine a collaborative art piece, something that tells our family's story." "Yes." Jake felt the pulse of inspiration rushing through him. It could be not just art, but a celebration of who we are together past and present. The idea blossomed within him, overwhelming the doubts that threatened to take root. They could build a small studio in their backyard, a dedicated space where the freedom of expression reigned supreme, where each family member contributed. This was not merely an ambitious dream, it was essential to nurturing their bond and personal growth. But amidst this surge of enthusiasm, anxiety lurked. Would the twins find joy in this exploration? Would they blossom creatively, or would Jake's ambitions inadvertently apply pressure? Jake clenched his fists, a wave of hesitation threatening to wash over him. "You're getting ahead of yourself," he thought. "Take it one step at a time." He approached Maria, who stood observing him thoughtfully. "I want to create a nurturing environment for the kids, but I don't want to project my dreams onto them. This has to be about them finding their own voices." Her smile was warm. "That's the spirit. Let us guide them, not dictate. Let us encourage them to explore their talents while sharing our passions with them." As they brainstormed ideas, the storm within Jake began to dissipate. For the first time in years, he felt a tangible connection to this balance he sought, a way to pursue his artistic inclinations while putting family at the heart of it all. Yet shadows still loomed, especially as his upcoming reunion with Jack weighed heavily on his mind. The evening deepened, and the first drops of rain began to fall, but they hardly noticed. They were swept away in conversation, sketching dreams for their new creative outlet. That night, as Jake lay in bed, the rhythmic patter of raindrops offered an odd comfort. A nagging voice in the back of his mind reminded him of the impending reunion, the confrontation that would require commitment to his newfound vision. Could he truly face Jack without faltering, armed only with hope and vulnerability? A sense of resilience surged within him, but tied closely to it rested doubt. Would Jack's expectations shatter the fragile balance he was trying to create? Jake drifted into sleep, the questions fluttering around him like the fireflies in the yard, leaving him to wonder whether he could navigate the storm both within and outside. It was a new chapter on the horizon, forming amidst the shadows, but what truths would emerge when the storm cleared? Morning light streamed through the window, illuminating Jake's thoughts as he awoke to a world still cloaked in uncertainty. The rain from the night before lay like a gentle memory on the grass outside, but the shadows of his internal conflict lingered, persistent and palpable. As the day unfolded, the chaos of breakfast was a cacophony of voices and laughter, the twins bounding about with uninhibited energy. Yet beneath this routine, a sense of impending confrontation gnawed at him. He felt the weight of that reunion with Jack, their relationship hung precariously between regret and potential redemption. Jake stood in the kitchen, the sound of sizzling bacon paralleling the sizzling thoughts in his mind. Maria was busy juggling the twins and their breakfast when an idea sparked. "What if we turn this breakfast into an art project?" he proposed. "We could have the twins decorate their plates with food, make a sort of edible art." Maria's eyebrows shot up, curiosity replacing the daily mundanity. "That's a brilliant idea. Let us make it a game." Encouraged, Jake began to navigate this newfound approach with excitement. As the twins bounced on their stools, he gathered various toppings and sauces, using the opportunity to explore creativity together. It was small, but for Jake, it represented a significant turning point. He was no longer just contemplating larger projects, he was actively engaging their family dynamic in creative play. The kitchen became an explosion of colors and laughter, a layer of paint over their morning. The twins smeared yogurt and jam in abstract patterns, and Jake felt a warmth unfurl in his chest. He caught sight of Maria, her eyes shining with mirth as she joined in. This wasn't just fun, it was a meaningful expression of who they were, and how he could help shape this experience into something transformative for them all. But as the laughter peaked, Jake's mind drifted back to Jack. The chance meeting was looming like a thundercloud, dark and uncertain. Would he be able to show Jack the man he had become since those tumultuous years apart? Could he show him the father he was now willing to affirm his identity without fear? After breakfast, as the twins discovered the joy of splashes and food art, Jake stepped outside. He needed clarity, a moment to breathe. Leaning against the porch railing, he scrutinized the backyard where the studio would soon rise a sanctuary for both him and his family. He envisioned splashes of paint on walls, the smell of sawdust thick in the air as they built their creative space together. His thoughts shifted to what he faced with Jack. Jake grappled with a potent dilemma: how to reconcile the choices he'd made as a son and the choices he was now ready to make as a father, how to let Jack's perceptions of him melt away while refusing to let them dictate his growth. The twins burst onto the porch, giggling with delight as they unfurled their breakfast art, their creations an extension of their inner worlds. The innocence in their laughter ignited something profound within him. His hesitation crumbled, if only for a moment, yet doubt quickened the beat of his heart. What if Jack couldn't recognize the man Jake had become amidst the whirlwind of their past? What if all of this newfound resolve shattered at the hands of old familial expectations? Jake's jaw clenched momentarily, wrestling with these fears as he leaned into the love radiating from the twins. "Okay," he whispered to himself, "you're ready." The tension was thick as the day moved onward, and he resolved to confront Jack's shadow, carrying the newfound strength he was cultivating. As night approached, a storm brewed in the distance, the air thick with electrical tension mirroring his own. Would he crumble under the weight of confrontation, or rise to meet it, intertwined with the threads of his family's support? He glanced at Maria and the twins, their laughter for now a balm to his worries. The time would soon arrive when he had to step into the storm and face the darkness, knowing that his future and theirs might depend on it. The day had offered clarity, but Jake knew he would soon have to confront the truth that lay ahead. Could he bear to face Jack as he was now, or would the weight of their past overshadow his new beginning? As dusk settled softly over the neighborhood, Jake stood, anchored by the porch railing, absorbing the warmth of the evening. The vibrant colors in the sky mirrored the flickering fire within him, an indomitable spirit ignited by the laughter and joy of the twins. They had transformed breakfast into an adventure that enveloped him in promise. Yet behind that promise loomed the noxious specter of his impending reunion with Jack, looming closer with every beat of the clock. Just as he steadied his thoughts, Maria emerged from the house, the soft sounds of the twins' joyous antics drifting behind her. She offered him a reassuring smile, one that reminded Jake that he was not venturing into the unknown alone. "You ready for this?" she asked, her voice steady and strong. "I will be," Jake asserted, drawing courage from her presence. The familiar pang of trepidation gripped him, but now it was tinged with determination. He recognized the delicate balance he had established, juggling fatherhood with a rekindled spirit of creativity and passion. He turned his mind toward the vision he had shared with Maria's encouragement, a collaborative family art project as a means to blend their lives and nourish their spirits. But first, he had to navigate the treacherous waters of his past. When the doorbell chimed, the sound pierced through him with the urgency of a gunshot. Both exhilarating and paralyzing, Jake felt a rush of adrenaline as he opened the door to meet an unfamiliar yet comforting presence. Jack stood there, exuding a blend of familiarity and apprehension. "Jake!" Jack's voice boomed, buoyant yet oddly uneasy. "Thanks for having me over. It's been too long." "Yeah, it has," Jake replied, forcing a smile that masked the whirlpool of thoughts. The two exchanged a quick, half-hearted embrace, a gesture thick with awkwardness. The evening unraveled with a slow intensity, small talk simmered as they settled in. Jake noticed Jack's eyes flitting toward the twins as they played in the living room, their infectious laughter a stark contrast to the tension binding the adults. It was quickly clear that Jack held on to expectations woven from years of shared history, while Jake felt as if he were balancing the weight of his new life atop the remnants of the past. "So, what have you been up to these days?" Jack asked, a glimmer of curiosity breaking through his bravado. Still working that mechanic gig? No, I've moved on, focusing more on family and pursuing some creative projects. The words felt foreign to his mouth yet liberating, as if they made manifest the evolution that had occurred within him over time. Jack paused momentarily, a shadow of disbelief crossing his face. Creative projects, huh? That's new. Got anything concrete lined up? Actually, yes. Jake straightened, resolve solidifying within. Maria and I are creating a shared art space for the kids. They can explore their creativity with us. A moment of silence fell, thick with unspoken scrutiny and expectation. Jake sensed Jack's skepticism. It wrapped around him like cold air as he struggled to shake off the past, to refuse the shackles of old ambitions. Sounds like you're trying to make your family a part of it. Jack prodded, seemingly caught off guard by the boldness oozing from Jake's heart. Yes, exactly, Jake affirmed, choice of words deliberate. It's vital to me that the twins can express themselves freely. I want a place that nurtures their joy. As he conveyed his intentions, the tremor of uncertainty in Jack's stance seemed to shift, even momentarily. Fueled by the passion and sincerity echoing inside him, Jake continued, things have changed for me. The boys matter more than my past aspirations. I can't just chase dreams for myself anymore, I need to weave them together with our family's journey. Silence hung between them, heavy and contemplative. The twins' laughter rang through the rooms, casting vibrant colors across the atmosphere, reminding Jake of what he held dear. Maybe I've underestimated you, Jack conceded, brows furrowing slightly, casting a shadow of reflection on their shared history. But remember the fire we had? It's good to validate, to keep growing. In that instant, Jake recognized the irony. The past he had thought would bind him was now presenting an unexpected opportunity for connection. Jack's words were tinged with both challenge and grudging respect, opening a possibility for understanding. I get it, Jake responded. But I want to follow a path that pulls me away from what matters most. Our family is everything, their happiness, their creativity, that's where I find value. Steadying his gaze on Jack, he felt the whispers of old insecurities dissipating. With unexpected clarity, Jake acknowledged the arrival of recognition not just from Jack, but within himself. He had not only embraced change, he had transformed it into a source of strength that allowed him to articulate boundaries he wished to uphold. As the evening came to a close, an unspoken truce emerged between them, threading a new understanding of friendship that could evolve alongside Jake's burgeoning identity as both an artist and a father. The conversation meandered into lighter territories, reminiscing about the past without stepping back into the heavy shadows it had cast. And as the night descended upon them, laughter once again filled the space, a blend of renewed camaraderie echoing the laughter of the twins. In that moment of clarity, Jake realized that he had achieved more than a confrontation. He had proven to himself that he could honor his past while creating a vibrant future woven together with love, laughter, and a relentless pursuit of joy. As Jack prepared to leave, Jake felt empowered, his path ahead clearer than ever. He had defined his narrative, marking a pivotal point in his journey toward not only personal achievement but familial fulfillment. And as the door closed behind Jack, Jake pivoted back to the laughter of his children, the vibrancy of their world illuminating his heart. He had not only confronted his past but seized hold of a future that resonated deeply with who he was becoming, a father, an artist, alive in every sense. Now was the time to build the life they had dreamed of together, and as Jake gathered his children in for a group hug, he was enveloped in an unwavering sense of confidence, a solid foundation for the journey that lay ahead, and you, dear reader, must carry this journey forward. You need to subscribe now to absorb the next exclusive emotional stories, the adventures waiting to unfold. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and share the love of narratives that transform lives. Comment your reactions and theories about Jake's journey and how it might inspire your own. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Here's your chance to connect, uplift, and spark change. Don't wait even one more second.